Have you ever been so angry that your body betrayed you? You were ready to defend yourself, and suddenly tears flooded your eyes, not because you were sad or weak, but because your body chose that exact moment to make you look vulnerable when you needed to look strong? Why does rage turn into tears? Why does your voice crack when you need it most? And can you actually stop this from happening? What you're about to discover will completely rewrite how you understand your tears. You know this experience if you've ever been in a heated argument and felt your voice crack at the worst possible moment, right when you were making your most important point. If you've ever had someone say, "Why are you crying? It's not that serious," and your anger doubled because they completely misread what you were feeling. You know this if you've tried to confront someone who hurt you, and the second you opened your mouth, tears started flowing, making you look fragile when you wanted to look fierce. If you felt that specific burning sensation behind your eyes during a tense conversation and desperately tried blinking the tears back while still trying to finish your sentence. You know this if you've been told you're too emotional to have this discussion, when really you were just passionately defending something that deeply mattered to you. If you've excused yourself from a meeting, a family dinner, or a fight, not because you wanted to leave, but because you couldn't trust your face not to betray you again. Maybe you've cried alone in your car afterward, feeling ashamed and frustrated, wondering why something that seems so simple, just not crying, feels completely impossible. Or maybe you're on the other side. Maybe you've watched someone cry during an argument and assumed they were manipulating you, using tears as a weapon to guilt you into backing down. Maybe you've felt annoyed by people who can't handle confrontation without falling apart. But here's what almost no one understands. Crying when you're angry has nothing to do with emotional weakness. It's a sign you're feeling so intensely that your nervous system is trying to save you from yourself. What you're experiencing is called emotional overflow crying, or what neuroscientists technically refer to as parasympathetic discharge tears. But here's the part that will change everything. These tears aren't happening because you're sad or fragile. They're happening because your nervous system is in complete physiological overload, and crying is your body's emergency pressure release valve. Let me explain exactly what's happening. When you're intensely angry, your body enters a state of extreme biological activation. Your heart rate spikes dramatically. Your blood pressure surges. Adrenaline floods your bloodstream. Cortisol levels shoot up. You're essentially running an emotional marathon while standing completely still. And just like a marathon runner whose body starts overheating, your system needs a way to cool down and regulate that dangerous intensity. So it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's built-in emergency cooling mechanism. And the most visible side effect of that cooling process? Tears. You're not crying because you're giving up or breaking down. You're crying because you care so profoundly that your nervous system can't safely contain the intensity. Your tears aren't weakness. They're proof that you're running at 150% emotional capacity. While most people stay cool simply because they're only 50% invested, this is where we decode the psychology behind behaviors that society has completely misunderstood. This is UNFELT, where we explore the psychology of what you feel but can't name. So let's go deeper. Let's understand exactly what's happening in your brain and nervous system when anger turns to tears. Why this response evolved in the first place. The 4 distinct psychological types of angry criers. And most importantly, the specific, science-backed strategies to stop this from happening when you absolutely need to stay strong. Let's start with what's actually happening inside your body when you cry from anger, because this has nothing to do with emotional maturity or self-control. This is about autonomic nervous system activation, completely involuntary biological processes you cannot consciously override. Stage 1, sympathetic activation. When something triggers your anger, an injustice, a betrayal, a boundary violation, disrespect, your sympathetic nervous system immediately activates. This is your ancient fight or flight response kicking in at full force. Your amygdala, your brain's threat detection alarm system, fires intensely. Your hypothalamus signals your adrenal glands to flood your body with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate increases to pump more oxygenated blood to your muscles. Your breathing becomes rapid and shallow. Your pupils dilate to take in maximum visual information. You are physiologically preparing for battle. Stage 2, system overload. But here's where it gets really interesting. When your anger is particularly intense, especially if you're simultaneously feeling hurt, misunderstood, powerless, or deeply violated, your arousal level reaches what researchers call critical activation threshold. Your body's internal monitoring systems recognize this level of activation is unsustainable. If we keep running this hot, we will cause actual physiological damage. And your brain makes a split-second executive decision. We need to forcibly cool this system down right now. Stage 3, parasympathetic override. To prevent complete system meltdown, your parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system suddenly crashes the party. This is your rest and digest system, the exact opposite of fight or flight. It releases acetylcholine, which aggressively slows your racing heart. It triggers your lacrimal glands to produce tears. It creates that choking sensation in your throat that's your vagus nerve activating. This isn't you breaking down or losing control. This is your body implementing a sophisticated emergency cooling protocol to prevent actual damage from prolonged, extreme physiological stress. The biological paradox. And here's what makes angry crying feel so chaotic, confusing, and out of control. You're experiencing two completely opposite nervous system states simultaneously. Your sympathetic system is screaming, fight, defend, attack, while your parasympathetic system is commanding, stop, cool down, discharge this energy. That internal war, that biological tug of war happening inside you, is exactly why angry crying feels so violently out of your control. You're literally fighting against your own survival mechanisms. Now you might be thinking, if this response is so unhelpful and embarrassing, why do we even have it? And that's where the story gets fascinating. Because from an evolutionary perspective, angry crying served crucial survival functions. Function 1. Chemical de-escalation signal. Recent breakthrough neuroscience research discovered something remarkable about emotional tears. They contain chemosignals, odorless pheromones that other humans unconsciously detect. When someone sees or even just smells your tears, even without consciously realizing it, their testosterone levels measurably drop. Their brain's aggression centers power down. Their empathy circuits automatically activate. Your tears are biochemically broadcasting an invisible message. Lower your aggression. This conflict is escalating to a dangerous level. In ancestral environments where conflicts could easily turn physically violent and deadly, this chemical signal could literally save your life. If you were in a physical confrontation, you couldn't win. Your tears would biochemically reduce your opponent's desire to seriously harm or kill you. Function 2. Social bonding and conflict resolution. Tears during conflict also serve to prevent permanent relationship ruptures within close-knit groups. In small tribal communities where you couldn't just leave and find new people, conflicts needed to be resolved and repaired, not escalated to the point of irreversible damage. Tears signaled something crucial. This relationship matters so profoundly to me that my body literally cannot contain the intensity of this disagreement. It was an involuntary, biological display of investment and vulnerability that could restart empathy and initiate relationship repair processes. The modern evolutionary mismatch. But here's the fundamental problem. We no longer live in small tribes where physical violence is a realistic threat during every heated argument. We're having conflicts in boardrooms, over text messages, in relationships where physical safety isn't remotely the issue. But your ancient, hardwired nervous system doesn't know that. It still treats every intense conflict like a potential life or death survival situation, and automatically deploys the same biological de-escalation tactics that kept your ancestors alive. So your tears aren't a malfunction or character defect. They're an outdated evolutionary survival strategy, trying desperately to protect you in a modern world that no longer needs that particular form of protection. Not everyone who cries when angry is doing it for the same underlying reason. There are actually 4 completely distinct psychological profiles. Type 1. The high investment crier. These people cry because they care intensely about the issue or the relationship. They're not crying from weakness, they're crying from emotional overflow. They're running at 150% capacity because this matters profoundly to them. Most people can stay calm and collected in arguments because honestly, they're only 50% invested. But high investment criers are all in, fully committed, deeply engaged. And that level of intensity generates biological heat that must be released. Type 2. The powerlessness crier. These people cry when anger collides violently with a sense of helplessness. They're absolutely furious about something unjust or wrong, but they simultaneously feel powerless to change it or fix it. The tears come from the devastating collision between, this is completely wrong and I can't do anything about this. It's not sadness, it's frustrated, trapped rage with nowhere productive to go. Type 3. The boundary violation crier. These people cry when their boundaries are crossed and they feel simultaneously angry and deeply hurt. Someone they trusted betrayed them. Someone they respected dismissed their feelings. Someone they loved violated their sense of safety or basic respect. The tears come from the emotional whiplash of anger at the violation plus pain from the relational betrayal happening at the same time. Type 4. The emotional backlog crier. These people aren't just crying about the current conflict. They're crying about accumulated, suppressed, unexpressed anger from multiple situations over weeks, months, or even years. This particular argument is simply the final straw, the one that breaks the dam, holding back all that stored frustration. The tears aren't proportional to this specific moment. They're releasing pressure that's been dangerously building for far too long. Which type describes you most accurately? Drop a number in the comments. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Understanding your specific pattern is the essential first step to managing it effectively. The absolute best time to manage angry crying is before it even starts. Here are 3 evidence-based, neuroscience-backed techniques that work powerfully. When you feel the emotional heat rising, but tears haven't actually started yet, Strategy 1, the look-up technique. This is pure, simple physiology, and it works immediately. The exact moment you feel that telltale prickle behind your eyes, physically look up. Tilt your chin slightly upward and focus your eyes on something above eye level. The ceiling, the top of a bookshelf, anything. Why this works neurologically. Looking downward activates your parasympathetic nervous system further. It signals introspection, submission, and emotional processing. Looking upward activates different visual processing centers. It signals alertness, outward focus, and engagement with the environment. It also mechanically prevents tears from spilling over by using simple gravity. Strategy 2. The math interruption technique. Your limbic system and your prefrontal cortex share limited blood flow and metabolic resources. When one system activates strongly, it automatically pulls resources away from the other. Force your logical brain online with complex mental math. Start at 100, subtract 7 to get 93, subtract 7 again to get 86, and keep going. It is neurologically impossible to maintain peak emotional intensity. While simultaneously doing complex arithmetic calculations, you're literally forcing blood flow away from your emotional centers toward your analytical centers. Strategy 3. Tactical vagal breathing. When you're intensely angry, your breathing becomes rapid and shallow, which directly feeds and amplifies sympathetic nervous system activation. Deliberately slow and extend your exhale to activate your vagus nerve and calm your entire system. Breathe in slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Breathe out even more slowly for 6 counts. The longer exhale is absolutely key. It signals biological safety to your nervous system and triggers parasympathetic activation. Sometimes the emotional wave is too powerful and prevention alone isn't enough. Here's exactly what to do when you feel your voice starting to crack and tears beginning to form. Strategy 4. The strategic pause technique. Don't try to push through it. Give yourself 60 to 90 seconds. Say calmly, "I need to grab some water. I'll be right back." This isn't retreat or avoidance, it's tactical self-regulation. Here's exactly why this works. The physical act of swallowing water forces your glottis, the muscle group in your throat, to mechanically relax. That muscle spasm is what creates the sobbing sound and choking sensation. Drinking deliberately resets it. While you're taking that brief break, vigorously shake out your hands to physically discharge excess adrenaline from your system. Strategy 5. Sensory grounding. When you're emotionally overwhelmed, your conscious awareness collapses inward, into your internal emotional storm. Name 5 things you can see right now, 4 things you can physically touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This forcibly pulls your attention out of your internal experience and anchors you firmly back in external, objective reality. The hardest, most challenging scenario. It's already too late. The tears are actively falling. Here's the single most important thing you absolutely must know. Do not apologize for your tears. The exact moment you say, "I'm sorry, I'm such a mess," you've signaled weakness and permanently lost your power in this conversation. Instead, use what psychologists call the label and continue technique. Say this exact sentence. "I want you to know these are tears of frustration, not sadness. I'm going to keep talking." Or use this powerful version. "I care deeply about this, so I'm having a physiological reaction. Please ignore it. I'm still fully engaged in this conversation." What this does psychologically, you're actively reframing the tears before the other person can misinterpret them. You're asserting that your biology is reacting, but you're still in complete cognitive control. You're continuing to actively engage rather than retreating, which demonstrates genuine strength, not weakness. The the ultimate power move. Here's something that takes real courage but is incredibly psychologically effective. Keep making your argument while actively crying. Don't wait for the tears to stop before you continue speaking. Let them fall freely while you continue stating your truth clearly, firmly, and powerfully. There is immense dignity in crying, and yet absolutely refusing to be silenced by your own tears. That's not weakness. That is the very definition of true psychological strength, feeling absolutely everything and continuing anyway. Have you ever successfully used one of these techniques in real life? Or is there a specific moment you desperately wish you'd had these tools? Share your experience in the comment. Your story might help someone else who's struggling with this right now. Here's what I deeply need you to understand. Crying when you're angry doesn't mean you're broken, weak, unstable, or emotionally immature. It means you're a high-intensity emotional processor, living in a world that consistently mistakes emotional depth for emotional instability. Most people can stay perfectly cool and collected in conflicts, because frankly, they don't care that deeply. They're emotionally detached. They're 50% invested at most. But you're running at 150% capacity because this genuinely, profoundly matters to you. Your tears aren't a sign of weakness or failure. They're undeniable proof that you care so intensely, that your biological system literally cannot contain the depth of your feeling. And yes, learning to effectively regulate that intensity is important and valuable, but never, ever let anyone convince you that the profound depth of your feeling is something to be ashamed of. So the next time you feel those tears coming during an argument, right before the shame and humiliation hit, remind yourself of this truth. My body isn't betraying me. It's desperately trying to protect me. These tears don't mean I'm losing. They mean I care profoundly. I can feel all of this and still be strong. Use your tools. Take your strategic pause. Reframe your tears. And if the tears still fall despite everything, let them fall. Then keep talking anyway. You're not too emotional. You're not out of control. You're not weak. You're a high-performance emotional engine that sometimes runs hot. And that's not a flaw or defect. It's proof you're fully, courageously alive. If this video gave you tools you've desperately needed your entire life, you're in exactly the right place. Subscribe for more psychology that helps you understand yourself at the deepest level. And comment below, which strategy are you going to try first? Until next time, feel deeply, speak clearly, and never apologize for your intensity.